no turning back. We have our ancestors with us. We're going to continue to dance with them. Oh. Dreaming them. Calling them. Seeing them. We are becoming what we were.
It is part of that Mayan prophecies.
7 triangles of light.
Keep walking. You are the spirit of Unapku. Keep walking. We the human, we are doing the spirit of Unapku.
People who say that the gods made them from corn. They planned their lives according to the heavens. Well-versed in astronomy, using a sophisticated mathematics, they calculated the movements of the night sky thousands of years into the past and thousands of years into the future. They knew that the universe moved in cycles. Their lives were ruled by the rhythms of the natural world, planting and harvesting, birth and death, just as the great tree of life emerges from the earth.
Always, they're connected. Science and religion.
In dreams, we learn from the Maya gods when to plant and when to harvest, when to set the fire, and when to do the corn ceremony.
What we're digging up, what we're coming up with is part of our history. And the men that lived here are some of the greatest men we've ever had. And it's a fact that we're getting to know more and more and more about the life of these people.
They still maintain their customs. They still maintain their ways of organizing their societies. And it's very exciting to see how much of the ancient Maya way of life is still alive as well.
Because American history does not begin in 1492 with Columbus. It begins in 200 BC with the first Maya king who wrote his name on a stone. What is happening now is the people who made these places, people like Yashpak or Bird Jaguar or Fakal, are getting back their voices. They are becoming real to us and speaking to the people of the 20th century about who built this place and why and what they felt and what they thought about the world. These are not anonymous people anymore.
You are the spirit of Unapku. Keep walking. We the human, we are doing the spirit of Unapku.
Yo, LA Natives podcast, Las Aslan Natives podcast.
Yo.
Man.
What's up, Armando?
What up? You know what? My bad for last week. There was a crazy storm in LA, Zero. Remember that?
Yeah.
It was nuts.
Flooded the spot.
And they turned off the power here. So that's why we couldn't be here last week, but we are here today. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, hit the bell notification, share the video, leave a comment. I want to thank all the new subscribers we've gotten in the last 2 weeks. Zero.
Yeah.
It just seems like
it's been active.
It just seems like if we ask them to subscribe, they will.
Yeah. I mean,
I wish we could have been doing this since day one, but you know.
Well, I think
we're not here forcing people to subscribe.
Well, that gets annoying too because I don't want.
But now apparently, you're a YouTuber, so we have to enforce it.
I mean, there's clever ways of doing it, and the best way of doing it is that the word of mouth get out through the audience, and the audience kind of cosigns for our message because that's what it's about. It's about the message. It's not about us being, popular or famous, and all that stuff. It's just more along the lines of getting across a solid message that helps our community grow, learn, and become what our great-grandfathers said we were going to be, what we would become, is one big, giant tremendous force on our own territories.
Yeah. As everyone knows, we're supposed to start at 8, but we started a little late because it's like, this is going to be a real episode, a real quick and real episode, because there's so much going on behind the scenes, right, Zero?
Absolutely.
Like,
I guess
the workload you have to deal with, and then the workload I have to deal with on a daily, pretty much attempting to make history, staying consistent with what we are passionate in doing, which is, I don't know, continuing being involved in the arts and being an entrepreneur.
Well,
you know,
being an independent artist from Los Angeles is a long road, and in that road, there was a lot of commitments made, and those commitments have been fulfilled. Other commitments became stronger, and other connections started to become stronger. And I think this next year that's coming up on March 12th, you know, because I want to talk about the Mexican New Year. We should always remember that in March 12th, that is our first day in our new year. And as not only an individual who practices indigenous understanding and philosophy and ceremony, we are to prepare ourselves for this next year and be conscious that we're moving into a new time and a new year. And with that being said, there's a lot of things on the back side of what we do here at LA Natives that is happening. Like,
and by the way, you are going to be performing a small set at Mexican New Year.
That's right. So yeah, Jag asked me last week if I would do a set at the Mexican New Year, so I'll be there. So that anybody who's a fan of my music and through LA Natives, that's the next performance I'm going to have. There's other shows that
it's going to be a little bit of a sneak peek on what Zero is going to be bringing at the full headliner events with Dakota. You know, who knows, Superman, who knows, Immortal Technique, who knows.
There's
right, Zero?
So much stuff happening right now that I kind of, before I used to be like, God, I can't believe it's happening, but now I know, I asked for it.
Look, guys,
you know?
for all the new podcast viewers or listeners that are tuning in, all of our diehard fans, they know since episode 1 what this podcast was about, right, Zero?
Right.
Like, you're a hip hop artist,
right? But I mean, more so than that, you know, as well. Like, that's one thing, though. Let's be clear. I did work very hard to become somebody that came out of Los Angeles music scene and did an impactful project that points our people back towards the direction of our truth. That's all I want to do, and you do that through art. You do that through art and through.
No. I can't relate with you on that one, Zero, because to me, talent is the minimum requirement. What you guys did, you guys put in the grind. You guys put in that work. You guys were at all the clubs. You guys were at all the coffee shops. You guys were just killing it on the mics. Like, you know, I remember the hunger you guys had.
Yeah.
You know, when you guys were young, and it's like we fed off of that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Am I right, Zero?
No, yeah, you're complete. I guess I
like, you were there where 2 Mix was at. You were there where Living Legends was at. You were there where Karis One was at.
Yeah.
And it's just like you were putting in mad work as an independent artist, because, you know, now we look at all these youngsters that we work with, and you're like, damn, man, like I see myself in them.
Absolutely, you know? Absolutely, and I'm proud of all the people that are coming up and doing this, you know, following.
Well, you have to admit, back then it was a lot harder to be in those opportunities because you had to be good.
Yeah, when in our era, you had to have good lyrics. I mean, if not, you would not. You just sound like not real. You know what I mean? And so you worked really hard to write that stuff. And
there was no social media, guys. You know, there was no, right? Like, to hear dope artists, you would have to go to the shows, and then get their CDs.
Well, especially artists like us, you know, we're trying to break from the underground and doing it all, funding it by ourselves. And luckily, we like you said, Armando, we put in the work in the underground scene to become who we become, and that's what's carried my career to this podcast and the future music that I have lined up for the audience.
And some of the most mind-blowing music that's going to be coming out for the world to absorb. Like, these new singles that Zero's about to release, they're just absolutely bonkers. People know I run Underground Hip Hop Blog, one of the largest independent hip hop websites globally. And that being said, not just because I know Zero, but dude, these 2 tracks, dude, it's literally the best content Zero has throughout his whole catalog.
It was a little bit more. I don't want to say difficult because it wasn't difficult because I didn't have Victor and Eric. I didn't have the rest of the group to kind of feed off of or have a healthy competition with or any of that.
But I believe it's your best work.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm trying to say is that it forced me to be more focused on it. Before I used to focus on the group. That means the beat and the artist, right? That was a little bit easier to kind of manage because there's multiple pieces. But when the piece is just you and the beat, and there's no other artist to kind of put your shoulder on or whatever, the focus and the highlight comes on you. So I did my best to write the best interpretation of what I feel is reality, right? And our reality is very different from Caucasian reality, African American reality, Asian reality, in terms of like if they decide to be a part of that, just that culture, right? And so I spent a lot of time and a lot of meditated time, a lot of spiritual time, a lot of fasting, a lot of pure human energy to write these new songs. And I do feel very proud of them. And I know that the audience is going to receive them in a way that I feel is going to be good for us. It'll inspire other artists to kind of join in on the chant of our understanding, reclaiming our understanding, because we're not fighting anybody. We're fighting ourselves. We need to reclaim our understanding, and these songs kind of point our people in that direction.
Right, and on top of that, make sure you guys DM us on Instagram immediately who your favorite indigenous hip hop artist is right now. I want to know. I want to get them on the show. If we haven't interviewed them already, right? A lot in the works, guys. Huge interview. Zero's going to be featured in, but we can't release the details yet. But it's going to be big.
Well, the new single is opening a lot of doors for me. You know what I mean? Like, they're very opinionated songs, and we
already have a local radio station KPFK backing it up.
So I'm excited about releasing this music, and I'm really giving the podcast listeners like a sneak preview on what we're trying, to do here. We're trying to create a movement of indigenous thought, indigenous philosophy, indigenous spirituality, indigenous diet, we need to heal ourselves, and this is the movement that we're creating.
And guys, tell me another podcast is doing what this podcast is doing. I do my own research. Mm-hmm. I haven't found another podcast that, that's like LA natives.
Well, it's not, not that they need to be like us, but, our intention is very clear. I'm trying to bring...
And still to this day, I don't consider myself a professional podcaster. Like, I'm far from that.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm still new at this, and I know in another year or two,
we shotgun every episode since day one, right, Zero?
Yeah. Well, we listen to our audience. They're very interactive on the chat, and I try to provide a good message. Something that you could take home, meditate. Last week or the last time we were on air, Jag came to promote his event and the Nemotemi and what it meant, and coincidentally we're in day 2 of it. And that's why I'm in deep prayer. These songs come with deep prayer, deep commitments that are gonna try to shoot an arrow 7 generations into the future, right? Because our ancestors are depending on us. They're depending on us to reclaim our understanding, No one's going to come and give us a book or build a school for us so that we can learn that. We need to learn that ourselves. We need to become a community ourselves. You know, yesterday in Malinali, we had a very beautiful ceremonial-like, you know, teaching amongst, you know, danzantes. You know, it was too cold to dance outside at Malinali, which you can come and dance, learn Danza Azteca on Tuesdays at 6:30 to 8:30. But it was too cold, so they came inside and everybody just shared songs. And I was just looking at that scene and I was going, something special is happening here. You know, and it's spilling over into the LA Natives podcast because Armando's hitting me up with, you know, show after show after show. I recently got in contact with Dakota Bear, and he's excited about coming down and doing a new single with me. And as you know, and he has his other commitments as well. But a lot of things, a lot of momentum is building up for the community that we always felt like was there, right? And so I just really feel humbled, and I give thanks to all the community so far that's been with us for this whole time. I know who you are. You know, you guys send me messages. You guys buy things off of us. And I just want to say thank you. You know, in the middle of this prayer that I'm going through right now, I feel a lot of gratitude because it's the audience that gives me the will to continue to do the prayer, right? Each time we do the Nemotemi, you want to give up. You're going to go, like, no one's looking at me, no one cares. But then I think, like, wow, how would the audience feel if they heard me say that, you know? How would the audience feel about the Nemotemi? So I have to, you guys are giving me the strength to continue on, right? That, my family, my children, my partner, my business, all that community, I feel a lot of gratitude. And, you know, when you haven't eaten food for a few days, you start to feel that energy, right? And then you start having these discussions with, you know, we start having this discussion with Armando, and it's like, wow, look at how much stuff is building up for this community that we believed in, this community that wanted to come together.
Just last night, I met up with Maestro Matacina, gave him his posters.
Dope.
Great energy, man.
Yeah, man. And we have a lot planned. I mean, these individuals are very close to us and very close to our movement. And, you know, the movement is not to overthrow anything, but to really reclaim what we already knew, you know, and put it into practice, right? It's not enough to know your identity. It's not enough to wear the shirt, read the book, look at the documentary. You have to practice it, and you have to read between the lines too, because everything I've practiced that came from indigenous thought or philosophy or from that time, I just did. I just did it. You know, when they invited me to Sway, I went. When they invited me to Sundance, I went. Right? You got to just get your feet wet in the very deep waters of our culture. And you can't be afraid to swim in those deep waters. Those deep waters, they're not meant to scare you. They're meant to show you how big and how vast what we can connect to. That wisdom is ancient, but we have to practice. And that's what I feel like I'm doing when I do these prayers. And then I put all that energy into that song. And I put all that energy into my business. Because my business isn't a capitalistic business. It's a business that's there to impact the community, and it has. Right?
And, you know, speaking on music, I would really want to make it like a huge announcement to all of our listeners and viewers to make sure to share the music
once we release it. Yeah,
once it's released.
Yeah.
You know, if it's not for you guys, it won't happen.
Yeah.
So it's for you guys. You know, I think it's been influenced by this podcast.
I mean, the people, I mean, and shout out to DJ Warlock one, because that beat is insane. You know, it's a drumless beat, and it has a very, very powerful. I mean, even when we showed it to Mark, he was like, "Wow, this is like a heavy song," and that's the lightweight version of the song that I have. So I have some very deep, introspective analysis about what our current reality is in on the wide spectrum, you know. But I just, you know, right now I just feel a lot of gratitude for the community that comes and shows up and does, you know, comments on our chat.
And what's up with the new merchandise?
Oh, yes, that's another thing. So some people have been purchasing a few of my prototypes for the new merchandise that I've been making. With shout out to Product Pistolas. You know, we've been spending a lot of time and trying to pull together some unique designs, and these designs are going to be available on Bandcamp, and there's only going to be a few made. That's the cool thing about working with a printer that can only print out a certain number, you know, and know that all that revenue that we make for the shirts, we're going to go back into the podcast, and we're going to go back into the events, because the goal is to create the community that we always dreamed of, that community that brings medicine from all directions into one centralized place, you know. But there's a lot of stuff that we're working on. I mean, there's so much stuff. And yeah, I have
Prodac's setup is magnificent, dude. Like, he's such a hands-on guy. I like his energy. He's a great hip hop artist. He's for the people. He's from LA. He represents the low bottoms.
And and he's creative as fuck.
He's indigenous.
And he's creative as fuck. Like, he helped me with the designs, man. That dude really used his talent to kind of go, hey, Zero, what about this and this and that? And, you know, with this new merchandise, I didn't want it to be just like a regular print, right? Just a front and then a name. Like, there's unique things about these designs, and I'm going out and I'm buying.
These are like truly one-of-a-kind pieces. Like,
yes, because I'm putting certain things on them. Like, I'm going out and sourcing out certain patches I like. So the sweater will have a patch with the, you know, silk screen with the heat press with it. So it's a dynamic design. And if you get one, there won't be that many. Maybe you'll be one of 10. So be proud of those that go and buy these merchandise on Bandcamp. The Bandcamp is going to be my private design collection. Right, it's not going to be the ones that we take on tour and we're trying to just flip on tour, you know. But the things that are going to be posted on Bandcamp are things that I'm working with Product Pistolas on in terms of certain designs, certain symbols, and I like the way they look. And just be on the lookout on Instagram for the pictures, and then we'll be posting those up as soon as I get the information to Armando. But just know that those particular shirts that we're putting on Bandcamp are going to be limited edition, maybe up to 10, maybe 10 to 13 shirts, and then we're going to switch the design, or we're going to switch the symbols, or we'll come up with a different color. So I'm trying to make something that feels like, you know, I feel like if because I'm the one pressing a lot of these stuff, you know, or I'm there with them while they're pressing all this stuff. And so I feel like the connection is closer, right? And if I make hundreds of them and I just put them in a box, I ask a big manufacturer to make hundreds of them, and I just put them in a box and I sell them to, I don't know, I just don't feel that connection. And I'm not saying that I'm never going to do that. I'm just saying with these particular designs, I'm putting a lot of energy and a lot of my own creativity in terms of the way the shirt looks. So when you rock it, I'm going to feel very proud of it, because I'm going to be like, damn, that, you know, me and Product, when we made like 4 or 5 different shirts before we came down with this one. But those will be available on Bandcamp
immediately. If you want to see them now, they're on your Instagram, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we have some. We have on the Instagram page, we have a few that are being displayed, but I have 3 other designs that I have not even posted on Instagram yet, and I really like them because we're using like old, ancient, you know, I have this book that has like certain symbols, right? These symbols are very important in our culture. So I'm using a lot of these symbols, like, because I thought, like, you know, these Masonic individuals, they put a lot of symbolism in whatever they do, dollar bills, building, this and that. And I go, well, why don't we use our symbols, right? And that's the whole concept around this shirt, this shirt line, is that the symbols that we're choosing are very important symbols. So when you rock them, you have that energy, right? You represent that energy, that superior energy, that connection with nature, that connection with the earth, the sun, and the cosmos. These are the symbols of the cosmos. They represent that. So when you buy the shirt, you're going to be representing those symbols.
Absolutely. And speaking of Mexico New Year, we were obviously talking about Michigan New Year LA. But I do not want to forget, for everyone in the Bay Area, in the San Jose area, we have Michigan New Year San Jose.
That's going to be cracking up there, bro.
And that is an amazing event. Shout out to Tochli.
Yeah, shout out to Tochli.
And Tochli Wear.
Yeah. Shout out to Michlapili. You know, good luck on your Mexica New Year celebration. As I said before, we're in the Nemotemi. We're in the 5 days of rest and cleansing and reflection. You know, and we're almost there to March 12th, where we're going to celebrate our new spring, where everything comes into life. So, you know, shout out to the brother Tochli, who puts in a lot of work, man. That Mexica New Year up north is like becoming like the gathering of the nations over there in Indian country. So yeah, I'm excited for that event. I might, you know, try to swing by at least one of those days that's happening up there. I'm not sure yet. But, you know, I have, like you said, my workload is just insane, dude. It's a lot, you know, to run a restaurant, and then with that restaurant being vegan in a very in a community that's not used to eating vegan. I was gonna say poor community, but you know, that's not what I meant. I meant that they're not really into health food. They're into cheap, corporate food, really, because there's a lot of McDonald's, a lot of Taco Bell's, a lot of this and that, and I'm putting my vegan restaurant or vegan deli in the middle of that. And so the workload is twice, because we have to be creative and create events. So everyone who has gone there, shout outs to you, because we wouldn't be, you know, where we're at if it wasn't for the support of the community. But
you know what's dope? You know, 90% of people use Yelp, 80% Google Maps. When you type in vegan food, when you're in the East LA area, guess what?
Yeah.
You see Manalali.
Yeah, for sure. It works to our advantage sometimes, but it's a challenge to tell the people in that community, you know, because yeah, the Googles and business wise, it's not horrible, but I'm trying to affect the community which I grew up in, and so I'm doing everything in my power. And one of the community members came into Malinali and said, "Look, bro, if you made the menu bilingual, it'll be more inviting for the." So I'm taking the steps and letting, you know, the community give me some feedback, and guess what? It results into like, not only do I get the Google search and the Yelp people, but I'm also building a strong relationship with the community that I'm in right now, with the people that live around there. I mean, I'm talking people that live blocks away, and some of them are Spanish speaking. Luckily, my grandmother, who I love to death, and, you know, rest in peace, rest in power, she taught me Spanish, so I'm bilingual, and I can educate our community, that East Los Angeles community, about these very powerful mineralized foods, and it's been a great success. You know, I'm kind of wrapping up last year, you know, and all the thoughts that I had and all the successes I had, and it's been challenges too, because, you know, we've had to, like this month, we had to cancel our plant-based taslan because of so many events that were revolving around Mexica New Year and all that stuff. So we had to be the humble people and just kind of put our kind of just rely on the Creator to provide what it provides, so that we can continue to sustain ourselves. But we've had some good days, and this year has been amazing, and I owe it all to the community that we've been building here on LA Natives, because LA Natives is a big reason why we're successful there in Los Angeles, in East Los Angeles.
Yeah, man. I remember at Mexico New Year, I saw a couple of the T-shirts flying around.
Yeah.
With people wearing them.
Yeah, LA Natives is definitely going to take the next step next year, and like Armando said, we have a very big show that we're preparing for, and Underground Blog is booking me for a lot of good shows too, and so there's a lot of music and a lot of interaction with the community, and as I said before, Dakota Bear and I are working on something for April. I don't want to drop any dates, and I don't want to drop any names or any of that stuff because we haven't, got a venue yet. But once we do, those announcements will go out. So just be prepared, community, that we're gonna go into our next phase of LA Natives, and that's the community events, community workshops, and these next shows that we need your support with. Tell your friends that there's a podcast that gives information to Indigenous people trying to find themselves and heal themselves. And I mean true healing, man. Like I said, you have to implement and learn what our ancestors ate and did to be considered that. It's not about race. It's not about your high cheekbones. It's not about any of that. It's about what you learned on your own through your heart and implementing that in your life. And I've done that, and I've seen large strides, huge leaps. The power is great when we connect to our original ancestral ways.
Absolutely. Make sure you guys subscribe, hit the like button, comment, share the video. Shout out to all of our live viewers. Next week, we're going to have some explosive guests. We love you guys. LA Natives, Las Aslan. Any last words, Zero?
Well, like I said before, man, let's put our focus in on what's coming. And in 3 more days, we're going to have our Mexica New Year. That Mexica New Year ties us to time, the correct time. You're not going to fool us anymore with having Happy New Year be in the middle of midnight in the winter, in January. We know our true time. This podcast is going to give out so much information to our community. We're going to start to heal ourselves and be on time. Take the moment to recognize that the spring is coming. And in the springtime, our new year starts. We'll see you next Wednesday. Tlasukamatli, Umeteo, Tonantzin, Tonatu.